Welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
From the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to a Christmas story house and museum and the Fountain of Eternal Life, travel and lifestyle writer Deborah Stone is back on Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station show today to talk about our musical, cultural, historic, and culinary adventures in Cleveland, Ohio. Because Cleveland rocks.
That's right.
Apparently so. She says in her article, seriously, go to Cleveland. It really is quite a city in the heartland of America. Looking at her photos, reading her article, I'm like, why aren't we there yet? Her article is featured in the fall issue of Parks and Travel magazine, running from October through December. And you can see it now. Just go to nationalparktraveling.com and type in Cleveland, and you'll be able to read her article. Debbie is a regular Big Blend expert contributor. You can see her expert page on nationalparktraveling.com and on blendradioandtv.com. So, Fire Monkey, how are you doing? Welcome back. Never getting rid of that name.
I know, but now you can add, Rock and Roll Monkey to that, as well. So, Cleveland is where it's happening. I'll tell you, I was so impressed. It exceeded expectations, and I just, what I'd known of Cleveland was basically, of course, the home of the Rock Hall, as they call it, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which really was an impetus, to visit the place in the first place to really go there. But then what you find is just mind blowing in terms of what that city has, and like you mentioned, cultural and culinary and historical and musical and every possible genre they have covered it, and it is a kind of an all-American city, and it is one that similar to when I spoke about Detroit, it is truly another comeback kid type of story.
Oh, that's neat. Looking at the photos though, it's like also you've got this rock and roll sensibility, you got all this music, and we definitely have to talk about the Rock Hall because this is on my bucket list. I mean, how many people don't have this on their bucket list? I don't. There's very few. But that, we got to talk about that. But what also really just shocked me was these ornate buildings. The architecture, but the interiors, I was like, wow, the art, the museums, the Hollywood history, So there was all of that, but so it seemed to be a blend of things. And of course, you had fun on a brewery overlooking the river. So I mean, how bad could that be? I'm like, I want to go there.
I know, that was the first time we thought we're going.
There's boats and beer. What could go wrong?
Nothing will go wrong. Believe me, I tell you. Good food and beer, and they have a great brewery scene there. Several dozen breweries around town, and I love the ones where you can, sit with the view. And we were watching, boats going underneath the bridge, and it's just a lovely evening. And there's live music all over the place, and just to me, there's a real buzz in that city that's very exciting. And I think visitors, can tap into all those different areas, no matter what interests them. There's something there for everyone.
I'll tap right into the Collision Bend Brewing Company. Sorry, I just steal your word there. But I love that name too, because you've got a view of the Cuyahoga River, right?
Yep. And it's the bend, the bend of the river kind of thing, So it's very aptly named, and it definitely is a happening place there. It was I think it's a very popular place, and we enjoyed it food wise and beverage wise.
Yeah. Now the Cuyahoga River, that's connected to a national park, isn't it?
It is. In fact, it's connected. It's part of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which is basically has, I think it has like 30,000 plus acres, and it goes along, I think, 20 some miles of this river. And actually, Cuyahoga means crooked. and it's because the river twists and turns. So it's a beautiful, beautiful national park that I think was made a national park when I was doing my research. In 2000, that recreation area became a national park. And so, you know, they've got everything from the forest and the hills and the farmlands and the valley, and there's historic homes and barns and, you know, all sorts of wonderful, you know, sites. And it also has, I think, the Ohio and Erie Canalway lies in that area, the National Heritage Area, celebrating the canal, you know. So,
okay. Wow. Yeah, the National Heritage Areas are so fascinating because it's part of the community as well as historic sites. I love it. Just brings this whole area to prominence and protects these, you know, valuable places, whether it's natural or historical. And a lot of times it's like co-managed, you know, with the actual community, which is really cool. You know, that's
I think this is the National Park Service manages it in cooperation with you know, the others that own property, I think, within the boundaries, like the Metro Parks of Cleveland, and I think the Metro Parks, the Summit Metro Parks as well. So, you know, those entities that have specific property also help manage in the process.
Well, speaking of National Park Service, you are also near the James A. Garfield National Historic Site. It's about 30 minutes away in Mentor, Ohio. That's a good name for it.
That is.
But he's also got a memorial that you went to, like a monument dedicated.
Yes. The memorial is located in Lakeview Cemetery. This is a very famous cemetery because there's a lot of you know, well-known people buried there, like John D. Rockefeller. But the Garfield, it was an interesting story. You know, he was assassinated, and just 4 months into his term, and so the country was they grieved his loss as much as they'd done for Lincoln, supposedly. And they funded this memorial through private donations entirely, and a part of which came from pennies that school children sent in across the country, which I found quite interesting. And in this cemetery is also this gorgeous chapel called the Wade Chapel, and it is on the National Register of Historic Places. And it looks really simple from the outside. It's just this kind of white building, but you go inside and it is just beautiful because the entire interior was designed by Tiffany. And you know, he was said that this opportunity to do this was one that he'd been waiting for, and that this would be, you know, the work of his life. And it is unbelievably special. And I'd never even, you know, heard of this place, let alone, you know, the fact that it was done all by Tiffany.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because I was looking at the photos, it's so beautiful and ornate.
There's so many hidden treasures in our cities, you know, because when you hear the word city, you know, there's a good side and the not so good side of big cities. And I think about 20 years ago, they all took a good look and said, we're turning this around.
Yeah, make it all inclusive.
I think you're right. And I think, you know, the powers that be that over the years have, you know, really done good things for our urban centers. And you know, and Cleveland is an example of that, you know, with all the arts. And you know, it was known primarily and has been known as an industrial city, but the culture came about. They really created these amazing institutions for, you know, art and history and music, and then of course they have the famous Cleveland Clinic. So medicine is big in Cleveland, and they also have Case Western Reserve University, which is a huge regional research you know, university and institution. And so they have a lot of brain power in this city as well.
Okay, but let's go back to the medical side, because seriously, that museum, is District Medical History Center Museum? There's photos of like what happens if you had leeches. No. See, now we have one here too, like a you know, the medical history. You know what? Yeah, I geek out on that stuff, but then doesn't it freak you out when you see the instruments that they used back then? And
oh my gosh.
What do you mean back then? Have you seen what they use now?
Yeah, I know, right? I would definitely not want to be a woman way back when during the birthing process. I don't want to do that now, but
no. But I'll tell you, you know, it's like
pliers.
Yeah, leeches, and you know, also like you were talking about, just the the surgical instruments look like torture, creations. And I was, you walk around and you're just kind of like going, oh my. And then you think to yourself, boy, am I glad they made some advancements in medicine.
I know. And then you're like, where's the magic pill just to walk through this?
That is why they give you the magic pill, because you're like, don't know what is going to happen to you.
I have a thing about old medicine bottles and reading and even the advertising of things, it's really fascinating how they sold things and what this elixir is going to do.
Yes.
So I would definitely want to put this on my list for sure. The other the other thing I love too is you found, another thing, as we've traveled and you've traveled, it seems that murals are taking over the walls. And I love that. So you found another group of murals. It was at Main Avenue Bridge.
Yes, actually I believe it was Ohio City is what they called. Cleveland is a place or a city of neighborhoods, and they have these wonderful historic neighborhoods. And this is one that is really, it's up and coming, and they're putting a lot of creative juice into it. And so there was a project called the Creative Fusion Project, where they matched, I believe, local and international artists together to work on projects on murals. And they, expressed different messages like, environmental justice and social equity and all these different types of messages. But, it is like dotted with murals, and it's such a wonderful area to just stroll around and look at the public art. And in Cleveland, it seems like many urban cities, but Cleveland in particular just embraces that creativity in terms of public art. They have all these amazing art pieces, installations. I think I mentioned Free Stamp, which is really quite famous. And this is a huge 50-foot tall replica of a giant rubber stamp with the word free that's written backwards, and created by Klaus Oldenburg and Kusi van Bruggen. And they were commissioned originally by the Standard Oil Company to create a piece of outdoor art because the company's headquarters, Standard Oil of Ohio, was there. And so they created this piece, and then Standard Oil of Ohio was acquired by BP America. And so the powers that be in that company, they didn't really care much for that piece. And so they said they weren't going to display it. So they eventually gifted it to the city, who then put it on display. And it is one of the most iconic pieces that, you see tourists and visitors, taking their selfies and taking pictures in front of it. And it's just a kind of a humorous, almost tongue-in-cheek type of piece. But so is like the huge chandelier that they have at Playhouse
That's crazy.
Square.
I love that chandelier.
No, wait. So do cars drive? I mean, this is outside, right?
Yes.
Do cars drive under this giant chandelier?
Yeah, it's hanging way above, and you can see it, coming down into this theater district area, which is quite famous. And you see it, especially at night, of course, when it's all lit up. And I just thought that was just cool. And it's just this huge piece, and it's suspended, and it's got thousands of these crystals, these pendants, and it's just another piece of iconic art that's in this city. I mean, you could just do a visit entirely based on public art, and you would probably have many days to cover what you need to cover.
Wow, I love that.
It's not really a chandelier; it's a spaceship.
Oh yeah, Nancy, here she goes. Here she goes. But so they have what's it, Playhouse Square. So this is interesting. So this is, the arts are a big deal, not just in the public arts, but then performing arts too, it sounds like.
Yeah, because it is the second largest performing arts district outside of Broadway in New York.
No way.
It's crazy.
Huh?
I mean, there's
I would have thought Hollywood or you just don't. I had no idea about that. Not at all.
Not for stage, for performing arts. So for live theater. And it's so it is a magnet for anybody who's interested in theater, performing arts. And so that's another one of those surprises that I would say 99% of visitors don't know.
What about these sports stacks?
So those are these are, and sports are big in Cleveland. They've always been. You've got the, Cleveland Indians, you've got the Cleveland Browns, you've got the Cavaliers, you've got several professional sports teams, and they've got all these, arenas and fields. And so there are these things called the sports techs, which are they're very huge. They're stainless, they're steel, they're in between, the Quicken Loans Arena and the Progressive Field. And they're just kind of like, you look at them and you're thinking, what are those? And they're this, kind of just a really modern, ultra contemporary piece of art, but they're also very useful because they're ventilators and I guess emergency exits for the service areas of these arenas. And I think it's kind of a tip of the hat to the industry, the roots of the industry for Cleveland.
That's interesting, yeah, because and that's where this when art and function come together, it's really fascinating,
Yes.
And it's to me, it's like you could make things look good, like when you think about manhole covers, right? I'd like people to start a program of painting the manhole covers.
Right.
You know that I fell down one, right?
No, I did not.
in Mexico, yeah, and I haven't been the same since.
No,
so don't blame me about whatever I say on the show. No, truly. And we just walking down the street, but I was trying to record the sounds of the street.
And boy, did
and
you.
everybody talking and all the hawkers and everything.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was trying to record all of this. And then obviously I was walking too fast or whatever. And this thing wasn't even closed properly. And down I went. And Nancy and all these people came, and I mean, I almost went in the sewer, and that was what was under. And I scraped up my leg.
I'll see you in Ensenada.
I know. And so they picked me up. I mean, they had to haul my big body out, and I'm hanging on for dear life to not go in the sewer. You know,
Lisa, this explains a lot of things.
I thought it did, and boy, did I stink.
It was scary.
Nancy and I were walking back, and we go back to the water, and Nancy just looked at me and goes, "You stink." And so we went to a friend. No, but they gave me a Bloody Mary later, so I was okay.
That made up for it, haha.
Yeah, I didn't have any tequila before I fell in. I probably would have ended up in the sewer.
I have to tell you that you smelled worse than when you had camel butt.
Excuse me, camel drool on my butt. But anyway, while I was photographing, a camel came over and drooled on me, and I really smelled. I went to a casino after that because we had a meeting in a casino. Yeah, this sounds normal. And people, and that was, when people were smoking and everything, and they could smell me through the casino smoke.
Yeah, they turn around and look at her, and I'm like,
all right, okay, so let's go back to Cleveland because it sounds so much better than my camel drool and falling into sewers. But anyway, I'm just saying form and function and, some paint could really help to make these things stand out. But I did find out a lot of my other friends have fallen down in through manholes. So anyway, it's weird.
Very weird.
It's a cult.
It is. I put it up on Facebook. Next, people are like, someone's dad fell down one and broke both legs and has never been well since.
No.
I know all this crazy stuff. So who knew? So anyway, I'm all for sports stacks having emergency exits that don't go through sewers.
Yes.
But the other thing, to me, one of the most beautiful, images was the Fountain of Eternal Life. This fountain, I mean, this statue, I mean, this is massive.
Yeah, it's a beautiful bronze statue. There's a man, he's kind of reaching up towards the sky. He's coming from a fury of flames, and this was to honor the local veterans of the Korean War and of World War II. So it really is beautiful. It's in a very, prominent place. And this together with the other one, which is the Soldiers and Sailors Monument, which is also to commemorate local war heroes who fought in the Civil War. So they definitely, give distinction to the local vets in the various battles and wars. And monuments are quite quite big there. So you'll see, a number of different monuments along with the public art pieces, and it's wonderful as wonderful as a visitor to walk around, and even if you think you know where something is, or if you come upon a surprise, come upon it by surprise or accidentally, it just I don't know, it just makes for such an enjoyable walking experience in an urban environment.
And then the buildings too, the arcade. Seriously,
yes,
that's insane. Like that is so. Like how did even looking at the memorial building for James Garfield, just the outside of it, it's just this attention to detail that happened in the buildings, and the terminal tower. I mean, I'm just like, wow, they really thought about how they were, building their city, and it sounds to me like looks to me that there's been a lot of pride throughout history there.
I believe so. I think with the architectural gems that they have, they preserve them as well. The arcade is truly mind-bending. You walk into a building and all of a sudden you're like, whoa! I feel like I'm in this. I feel like I'm in Italy. In some galleria, this golden, beautiful hall with this 5-story atrium. And it has all this ornate, work, and it's just. It's incredible. And that became Cleveland's first building listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So it really has a place in history there, but they've preserved it, and it is now part of it is a hotel. There are shops and restaurants inside. And then the mall, which is a public park that's surrounded by all these gorgeous Beaux Art style civic, the city government buildings, and gives you the green space in the middle of downtown. And this was a big part of this Cleveland group plan back in the early 1900s, talking about how to plan out urban planning for a major city outside of DC. And so it had a lot of well-known names attached to it, and but that's another thing is you get a history lesson as you walk around the town.
This is amazing. And one of the things too is that the West Side Market.
Oh yeah,
I love markets, man. I really, really love markets, and they had cheese. I was like, you had to put cheese in there. I'm like, okay, I want.
It is, that market, it has a lot of history. It's, back from the early 1900s, and it served the immigrant population, which, a lot of the Eastern European immigrants that came and settled in Cleveland. And, you walk around and it's this gorgeous old building, and it's got, these vendor after vendor. And as I said in my story, sausages definitely reign supreme. And yes, there is cheese, and there's seafood, and there's, fruits and vegetables and everything under the sun. And then there's pierogies, and all sorts of, wonderful, Eastern European ethnic types of foods. And, so the smells and the sights and it's this wonderful sensory type of experience,
I love that. I love when you have all these different cultural foods.
So much more fun
to shop that way. Yeah. And you get to, talk to people, and it just, I miss places like that. Speaking of food, and we're not going to forget the Rock Hall, everybody. Yeah, I'm just saying, there's no way. Okay, we're missing out on that. But you've got me, and I'm hungry now. You into the Happy Dog.
Oh my gosh.
See, this is, I'm going towards, if you're saying Happy Dog, towards our song at the end of this show, So, Happy Dog.
Yes, it's quite one of those, quite quirky places. You can go for a hot dog or burger. Also for vegan, they have vegan hot dogs and vegan burgers. Cool. But these, the toppings were insane. So there's a menu of toppings, and there's 50 toppings with these interesting and somewhat bizarre combinations, like beer cheese fondue and mango chutney. They had Fruit Loops on one of them, and it's like, so you can order, and then they've got a separate menu that also includes the tater tots and your dipping sauces for the tater tots.
Yes.
Oh
Yum.
Oh, but the white beer cheese fondue sounds
that's good.
really, and mango chutney. I love my chutney. I haven't had chutney forever. Yeah, my favorite is peanut butter and pickles on a burger.
Oh my gosh! Well, you'd fit right in a Happy Dog.
It's
really,
an Elvis burger, but most people put banana on it, and I don't do bananas. But I like
pickles and bananas together.
I love peanut butter and pickle sandwiches, and I'm not with. Told everybody I'm not with child. I don't want one. I have a sock monkey for a travel mascot. Who needs a child when you have a pink sock monkey? You know.
Oh, I would say head to Happy Dog because you'll fit right on.
It sounds good. I feel like I want white. I want the white beer cheese fondue. Now you went to a firehouse. Now you see this is this is my thing. The larder in the old Ohio City Firehouse. Okay,
and it's this wonderful deli that has these your typical wonderful huge, but these are huge sandwiches like pastrami, and then the babka, which is this wonderful, pastry type of dish. And I mean, it's one of those places that it's also a very neighborhood, local type of place. And you can see when I was sitting down outside at one of the picnic tables, and this guy was telling me, oh, you need to try this and you need to try that. And I go, oh, you come here often? He goes, yeah, I just live a few blocks down. I come here all the time, So it was like, definitely has that wonderful local flavor. And also that they have, repurposed, renovated, whatever, in a historic building that is now, a wonderful magnet for foodies.
Wow, this is cool. And I love old firehouses. And I like firemen. That's how I would go to,
not so much old ones.
Okay, so this is the other thing though. Okay, this is cool. Grumpy's Cafe, good name. But it's for feel-good food, you said. Go to Grumpy's for feel-good food.
I love that name because it's just funny. It's like, I guess maybe, if you're grumpy to go in, you won't be grumpy when you go out because they have this wonderful, great, especially for breakfast. We were there for breakfast and they had these sweet potato pancakes with this maple barbecue type of drizzle on top that was wonderful. And, these great French toast and great, egg dishes. And just, another real fun local place that has become very popular. And so I mean the food, the culinary, they've got food galore there in any kind, any type that you want with in any neighborhood. And it, to me, food is a big thing, I think, for visitors as well. It's like, you want to try different types of food, you want to try local food, you want to try these iconic places, and Cleveland definitely has you covered when it comes to that.
And you had some farm to table fare too. The Greenhouse Tavern. Yes. I like the word tavern.
Yes.
The
I'm sure you do.
The Greenhouse Tavern. That sounds perfect.
Yes. Yeah. Good farm to table stuff, and also with a nice open area. You can sit outside. It's right downtown. I love those kinds of places. I love kind of just soaking up the ambience when you're eating really nice, good, fresh, seasonal food,
Nice. Man, this sounds really, really good. What is lodging like there?
Lodging they've got everything from, you got your inns, you've got your hotel chains, you've got luxury properties. I think there's, everything and anything, price-wise, budget-wise for people. They've got a good selection. You can stay right downtown in walking distance. You can, stay a little bit outside of town and come on in. I think it's like a lot of urban centers. They try to provide a selection based on budget,
Okay, cool. I like it when you can stay downtown and just walk out your hotel.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And apparently you can have cocktails too in one of them on the rooftop.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We stayed at the Westin, which was right downtown, really nice property. The Westins are always very well appointed, and great location. Then, we went to get some drinks at Bar 32, which is actually on top of the Hilton downtown. And it just was, you walk up there and there's windows looking out, and the whole city is lit up at night, and you can see the Rock Hall, which is like this flaming red kind of property, and you see the fields, the stadium lit up, and it's just kind of a great great view, great place for a libation.
I like that. I like that a lot. Now let's talk Hollywood history and music. We're gonna go from orchestra to rock. And I love rock operas, so both are good. But A Christmas Story House and Museum, I know Steve Schneikert, our Hollywood historian, he is going to love this. So this is actually the place where it was filmed, right?
They filmed a great part of it there, not of course everything, but they did do a lot there. And it is in what's the neighborhood, it's called the Tremont neighborhood. So the actual house that they used in the movie is restored by this man named Brian Jones to look like it exactly did in the film. There's a lot of replica props in the actual house. When you're walking around, you can pick up these replica props, but there's a museum across the street which has some of the original props, some of the original costumes and memorabilia kind of thing. And then there's a garage with the same model fire truck that they used in that scene when Ralphie gets his tongue stuck to the frozen flagpole. And so there is, let me just tell you, this site there were so many people. It is such a popular tourist attraction, and people come from all over because there are so many people who are, love this holiday film, A Christmas Story, and so it is, and there's pictures of the stars, in the house, and, you get a tour, and then you're allowed to kind of walk around the house and take your pictures. And it's just, for people who are beloved fans of this particular show, it's truly a fan favorite. And what I think was really, really interesting about this is that you can actually spend the night inside this house, and so it's like a B&B or an inn, and for the ultimate in
we need to send
Steve.
Steve needs to spend the night there.
Yeah, I know he'd love that.
He'd love that. I know. Wow, you could spend the night in A Christmas Story house.
Yes,
that's amazing.
Exactly.
How cool. That goes on the list of unique.
It
It
absolutely
really does.
Yeah.
Wow. Yep. That's unique. The art, I want to get to Severance Hall, but you went to the Cleveland Museum of Art, and it just looks so amazing.
Yeah, the they have this huge and this incredible grand foyer that you walk in, and you kind of like, your eyes just kind of like, oh, whoa, your jaw drops open. It's beautiful. And then their collection is very extensive. There's everything there from, Egyptian and African and Indian art to, modern, contemporary, European masterpieces. And it's really a wonderful art museum. And it's in this area that they call, the University District is what they call it, a University Circle, I believe. And it has all these museums. So you have the Cleveland History Center, which is down the way. You've got a botanical garden. You've got a natural history museum there. You've got a couple blocks away is Severance Hall. And so it's just, I was very impressed that they have these institutions right in this University Circle campus area. So you can walk from one to another, and, making it very convenient to really get a dose of culture there.
And to me, that would be one of the first places to go, just to understand the city, history-wise. And I always like to go to museums first, and then go back afterwards. You know what I mean? It's like that, if you have time, is go through a museum and then go around and then go back, because it'll all mean so much more,
Absolutely, and especially with the history museum, I think it's a great way to introduce visitors and people who don't know much about Cleveland's history. They have this wonderful exhibit called Cleveland Starts Here, and so it really talks about how the city is defined from back in the 1790s until today, and wow. In terms of challenge times, and then boom times, and all of it. And so they have it's a wonderful kind of dose of history. And also they have this wonderful, I love this carousel that they had, this 1910 carousel that is in that building as well.
That's Priscilla, our little sock monkey, would want to go play on that.
Oh yes.
Priscilla
would love it.
Oh man, I love it too. So now the Severance Hall, this is amazing. So this is where the Cleveland Orchestra performs, right?
This is correct. And recently ranked the #1 orchestra in the country by New York Times. And
wow. So this is like the haven of culture and history and the arts. I mean, this really Oh, I want to go so bad.
It is truly the Severance Hall, and this is this beautiful building, which is also on the National Register of Historic Places. And so it has all these different architectural styles, from Art Deco to this Egyptian revival, and this another grand foyer, this King Tut-like feel, because the Egyptian was really in at the time, and it's also one of these incredible acoustics inside. So it is truly one of the jewels of the city, and the orchestra is also a jewel. I had the pleasure of going to the Blossom Music Center, which is also in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and I heard an outdoor concert. It is their outdoor summer home for the orchestra, and I heard one of their programs there, and it was a beautiful setting, and the music was really special.
Oh,
I love that.
Wow,
when you get to hear good music in nature, it's just the best.
That's it. There's something to me. Oh, amphitheaters and okay, that's I'm officially jealous.
Yes,
but now I'm really going to be jealous when we talk about the Rock Hall. This is right, because this is just. I remember seeing one of their. They loan out exhibits here and there. And the Hard Rock Cafe, I think they had given an exhibit in Biloxi, Mississippi. I think it was one of their exhibits. I could be wrong, but there was an exhibit and had like Elton John's hat and some Janis Joplin stuff. I mean, it was like Prince and Madonna and all these people, and I'm just like, dude, this is so cool. I photographed everything I could of that, and it was just like, dude, because I'm a musician, man, and I'm like into music history. I geek out on it, and I'm like, wow, this is just this little snippet of what it could be where you were.
You'd be very overwhelmed. I mean,
could you be there for a full day and not be done?
Oh, you have to allot time to see this place, and for me, music just takes me back. It's just this intense flashback moment where you can exactly where you were when you heard this music, or what you were doing, what you felt, and how it made you feel. And specifically rock music in my youth, my early adulthood. And so they have it's divided up into various exhibits. The Legends of rock and roll is one of those real highlights for people, because they've got Hendrix and the Stones and the Doors and the Beatles and the Who and all these different famous groups. And then you'll go into the Summer of Love with the psychedelics, and then there's the roots of music, which I think were fascinating. A lot of times people don't realize that we would not have rock and roll without certain individuals back when, like Hank Williams and Mahalia Jackson and then Les Paul, and then Elvis, of course, gets his own little special place, and it's unbelievable. And then you can walk into and watch Dick Clark's American Bandstand, and then you can go into this show called The Power of Rock Experience, where you see all the Rock Hall induction night snippets, and it's really one of those ones where you feel those beats, and you get to see really up close and personal, Green Day and Bruce and U2 and Prince and Tom Petty and all these inductees performing. But one of my favorites was this exhibit called Stay Tuned, which was how has TV brought music and artists into our homes. And so it's like those shows like Happy Days, or even the Monkees, or the Tonight Show, or Saturday Night Live.
Ed Sullivan.
Yeah,
dude,
he brought everybody.
Yeah, man, he's a trip to watch.
Yep.
I've like done, like when we got to this country, I geeked out like on Hee Haw. All in the Family. Don't tell anyone, but that's got nothing to do with music. But I got into just like Ed Sullivan, just watching the whole thing. And it's true, late night TV has brought music. I mean, to this day, look what Jimmy Fallon has done. Incredible work in regards to music, and doing his own recordings with them, and the fun times, and just this is so exciting to see how they do these kinds of exhibits, and then looking at what's the new lineup. I mean, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, she should be one of the first ones in there. I love her.
Yeah,
and
she was inducted, this year, along with the Moody Blues, the Dire Straits, Bon Jovi, the Cars, Nina Simone, and they have to wait. 25 years after the release of their first recording before they can become eligible for the Hall.
Wow, I didn't know that. Oh, that's why, because there's so many of us, we all go like, we want this. How come they don't have this person in or this band?
That's
And,
why I didn't know that.
it's like we all want everyone to win the Grammy that we want. It's like, it is, to me, this is like rooting for sports. Like, this is as close as I get to understanding that thing about sports. It's like, I want this person to win that Grammy or get in the Rock and Roll. The first time I actually saw the actual ceremony when we got to this country was when Fleetwood Mac went back on tour. And it was around that same time, and they performed, and they brought Peter Green up on stage, and I almost cried because to me he's still one of the best guitar players in the world. And it brought up all the history, like John Mayall and Otis Spann and this whole old school Fleetwood Mac back in the good, like they're all good, but like back in the rock and roll blues days. And I don't know, I was just like, wow, look at that. I think it's important to remember these people that, what they did, the pioneers and legends of music.
Yeah, and these founding people who, they mentioned this guy named Joe Turner, who was a major figure in R&B, and he basically was a founding father of rock and roll because he called it, he just said, this is a different name for the same type of music I've been singing all my life, And, what's interesting is, Cleveland, the famous disc jockey there, Alan Freed, he was the one who came up with the term rock and roll back in the early 50s because he'd been playing, this R&B records, these R&B records back 1950, as early as 1951 in Cleveland on the station WJW, and he popularized this music and he coined it rock and roll. And so, it's kind of fitting that Cleveland, has the Rock Hall,
Yeah, I was going to say, and how long has it been there? It's like, I've always heard about it. It's got to be
it's been there a while.
It's a long time.
I think it was established, I think the nonprofit was established in 1983 and then they opened in 1995, actually, the hall. And it's a, very cool architecture. And another exhibit that I found really fascinating was the one that was about, it's called Don't Knock the Rock. It was on protests against rock and roll back beginning in the 50s, about,
the devil
how
it gets you.
and how it was corrupting youth and there was sex and violence and all this kind of stuff. And so you see all these, these people and these pundits and some of them politicians, some of them, people from different religions and how, they are, saying that rock and roll music is, really, really bad. And so that was, really fascinating, especially for people who maybe, younger people who weren't around or who didn't know that these protests started back in the 50s, so, and there was this wonderful quote that I loved, and it was by Frank Zappa, and he said,
I think it's got to be in there.
Yes, he was testifying something about in Congress, and it was rock music was never written for or performed for conservative tastes.
Well, he's done, he said
for that.
Yeah.
No, but today we have a problem with many politicians, not just one that I can think of, taking rock and roll songs without permission. Somehow they think they're allowed to use musicians' songs.
Yeah.
And they use them at their rallies. And, the musicians, like the last one I read about Aerosmith was saying, stop it.
Yeah. I love Frank Zappa. If you ever get a chance, read his biography. It's awesome. One of my favorite quotes from him is, politics is the entertainment branch of industry. He was awesome, but he also changed rock and roll with how he outlined the way for musicians to be independent in that era, and how to do your own label. And he comes out of El Centro. Do you know how many musicians come out of El Centro, California? Unbelievable. I don't know what happened, but they were birthed there, and then they traveled around out of there. But it's wild, And I was thinking about that when you said don't knock the rock. I was like, Frank Zappa has to be in there,
Yes,
he's really
you got it. You got it.
He did so much. But what's up with these pinball machines, man? I want the pinball wizards.
Yes, that's exactly it. Rock out to these pinball machines. There's like a whole area with them, with these, musical rocked out pinball machines, just like the Who, So
I was going to say they had to have like the pinball wizard, like
it's just everything is. I mean, there's anybody you find, and then there's things about hip hop and rap and all the different jazz and all these different artifacts that span all these different genres that have influenced rock and roll in any way. And actually, very few music styles haven't. They're all represented there, and it's just great. Everybody finds who they really adore there. They're so excited to see, and then not only that, they just learn about all these other different aspects of rock and roll, especially the early stuff that a lot of people didn't realize what really how it all began.
I love that there's museums and places like this for music, like the National Association NAMM Music Museum of Making Music in Carlsbad, California, and then there's a museum up in Phoenix, and you don't get them that often.
No,
they're far and few between. Yeah. And so hats off to anyone doing anything in protecting and preserving and showcasing the history of music and instruments and all of that. If you could go back, what do you want to go back and do that you didn't get a chance to do when you went to Cleveland?
Oh my gosh, I'd go back to the Rock Hall because I spent a couple hours here, but I wanted to spend. I would have spent more time, and so I think if when I do go back, not if, when I go back to Cleveland, I would go there and spend a few more hours because there's so much there, and you can sit and you can watch videos, you can listen to, you can go and find out who did one-hit wonders, you can do, all this kind of stuff, and it's like there's all these interactives, and you could, like I said, you could spend an entire day probably if you really wanted to, going through every little nuanced, exhibit and interactive there. And it to me, it was just so comprehensive. So I would love to return and definitely go back there. I'd love to go back and do spend more time in the museums and get to some of the ones I didn't get to. I'd love to go back and eat some more and drink some more.
I was going to say, do they have a restaurant at the Rock Hall?
Because yes, they do. They have a cafe. Yes.
I was going to say that's going to be so much fun with the menu.
Yeah, you got to have it.
Yeah. It's like,
yep.
And they could have the Tommy Burger. Who? No,
yeah.
Okay.
And the gift shop, which is definitely a magnet for visitors. And it's like I said, it's just a really cool place, and just has so much history, and it means a lot to so many different people.
Music means a ton.
Heck yeah. This is amazing.
Look at how many people were born, because I know he's not a rock person, but Johnny Mathis is personally responsible for lots of births.
No, I thought you were going to say.
No, in my mother's generation, all of those women to this day will tell you, if they're still with us, it was Johnny Mathis.
Okay, or Nat King Cole.
I was going to say Nat King Cole.
Nat King Cole, but Johnny Mathis wins.
Are you a Johnny baby or a Nat? How it's going to be. My gosh.
In my family, all my brothers and sisters, this was Johnny Mathis.
Wow.
Oh, how funny. How
That's
funny.
awesome. That's awesome. I want to thank you, Debbie, for joining us again. I know you're exploring the Midwest. We have some more Ohio destinations like Erie and Canton that we're going to be talking with you over the next month and two. And everyone, again, Debbie's article, seriously, you need to go to Detroit, is up on National
Cleveland.
Park. I mean, Detroit. I've got to get me straight here. Cleveland rocks. That's all I just want to say. Cleveland rocks. I can't get that song out of my head. But Detroit too, her article on Detroit and Cleveland, both of them are up on nationalparktraveling.com. I figure, this is how my brain works, that if you're going to go to Cleveland, you got to go to Detroit. If you're going to go to Detroit, you got to go to Cleveland. You should do both together, But this is what I was going to say. The series of the Midwest, man, I had no idea how amazing these places were. Now, like Nancy and I on our tour, planning our Love Your Parks tour, I think we're going to spend like a year in the Midwest. I think this is what's going to happen to us, you know?
Yes, because it's definitely worth the time to go to America's Heartland, because there's just so much there. And may I mention that the website is thisiscleveland.com for anybody who wants any information and all information about Cleveland.
This is Cleveland.com. I love that. That's a good name. Mm-hmm. This is Cleveland. Like that's like putting a stamp on it. It's the big stamp. This is Cleveland.
It is the big stamp. Yes.
.com. Everyone go there. This is Cleveland.com. Check it out and go see Debbie's article and look at all her photos. Again, everyone, BigBlendRadio.com is the place to go to keep up with our shows. You can listen as they go live or anytime later on demand. And we have a special song for Debbie. We always like to play music, and in honor of the Happy Dog and Fruit Loops and the Beatles at the Rock Hall. Okay, we're going to play "Hey Bulldog," a famous Beatles song. This is covered by Jack Russell, one of the top rockers in the 80s, 90s, and now to this day. He was the founding member and lead singer of Great White. I mean, you've got to think of songs like Once Bitten, Twice Shy. I grew up hearing his music, and we were lucky enough to have him on our show and talking about Shelter Me, his very first debut solo album. Of course, it's the first if it's a debut. It came out in 1996, and it's now been reissued. And he's still performing with Jack Russell's Great White Band. So you can go to jackrussellsgreatwhiteband.com. You can get the album at cleorex.com. And if you go to blendradioandtv.com, just type in Jack Russell and you'll be able to hear our interview. And we wanted to play this song and we didn't get time with him. So we played about three other songs with him. But Hey Bulldog is one of his favorite Beatles songs. So here it is. Hey Bulldog. Thanks so much, Debbie. Fire Monkey. Talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, ladies.
Take care.
Sheepdog, standing in the rain.